Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wyman, and it's my great pleasure and privilege to be here with Anna Hunter and Gary Knapp. We really appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're watching live here on a Saturday morning in Australia or later down the track through many of our archives. Today, I'm really excited, always excited to have Karen as our guest. Karen Dennis is a former nurse, the mother of 4 children, and grandmother to 6. She studied nutrition and supplementation for many years and began her Manatech business in 2002. She reached the 6-figure income level in just over 2 years and has earned many awards in the process. Karen was Associate of the Year in Australasia in 2008 and again in 2013. She was in the top International Business Builders of the Year in 2007 and 2013. And in addition, has been the top 5 Associates of the Year in 2008, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, and 18. Holy moly. In 2012, she was the recipient of the Giving Spirit Award in Australasia and also inducted to the $1 Million Club, a prestigious group comprised of associates who have earned over $1 million in their Manatech business. Karen is an awesome wellness warrior and home business coach. In this presentation, we're going to be following on from Don Partridge's recent call and including, what's most important right now. I think we can all, if we were in the same room, we'd be nodding our heads and knowing there's unprecedented pressures on our health and well-being in the modern world at the moment. And there are things, Karen's going to empower us with knowledge where there are things that we can do to be proactive. So Karen, God bless you. I'll go off camera, but I'll be right here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sharon.
No worries.
Good morning, everybody. It's really great to be here again, and I really look forward to helping. I thank Sharon and Gary and Diana for their years of faithful service nearly every Saturday morning, over 20 years, I think it is now. I've been involved with Manatech for 21 years myself, or 21 and a half now. So it seems like they've been doing this forever, and it's just been a great service to us. And I don't think there's been a more important time for Manatech, for our products, and the knowledge that we have to share with other people. Sharon said at the end of Don Partridge's call the same thing, that there's never been a more important time, and I totally, totally agree. I think what's happened over the last 3 years has shown us so many serious things going on in the world. But for me personally, it's made me realise how much the powers that be have been working against us for much longer than 3 or 4 years ago. It's been a very long process. And what I'd really like to do today is reiterate a lot of what Don Partridge said. I'm even going to repeat a lot of the things he said as an introduction to where I want to go with advising with our supplements, because for me, it was just totally refreshing that Don came out so boldly and so frankly about what's happening in our world. And I just think it's imperative that we know and understand what is working against us now. I think for many years out with the television and just the media, we've trusted the powers that be to be doing the best for us. If you would tell people that there were terrible toxins or chemicals in their food, they wouldn't allow that. People think they wouldn't allow that. They wouldn't, hurt us. And I think this is one of the biggest revelations we've had to face, that they aren't altruistic at all. Don talked about this. They're not out to look after our health. In fact, whether you believe this or not, plans are to reduce the world population, as Don said, to half a billion people, or 500 million people. And at the moment, there's 8 billion people roughly on the planet. So that is a rather big culling. And it takes some very insidious things for that to happen. And we've seen a lot of things happen over the last few years that haven't been good, but a lot of things have been going on for a long time with our food, with the poisoning of our soil. And, as Don said, the military and medical complex and the global elitists have many great plans to hurt us. And I just think we have to face that reality so that we can protect ourselves. So I don't usually do notes because I'm just very much go from my heart. But I particularly wanted to mention some of Don's points to remind you. And I really encourage you to go back and listen to Don. I've sent that recording, thank you, Sharon and Gary and Diana again, to quite a few people who've really been very grateful. I think we need to be helping educate people as to what's really going on in the world and how the Manatech products can help. So one of the things, main things Don mentioned is harder. It's harder now to maintain our good health and to regain good health once you've lost it. And when things have gone wrong. And this is something that affects us personally, but it also affects us when we're dealing with other people. It can be harder for people to get the same results we may have seen some years ago because the food has deteriorated more. There's things in the water, there's chemicals in the air. We've got things coming at us, so people will get slower results and may need to take larger amounts of product to even do these things. And that's what we need to understand. And I just want you to think about it, if you maybe have doubts that the food is really that bad and is it something I really need to be so concerned about, just look back over the years you've been in Manatech, or maybe some of the people you've listened to, or maybe yourself personally have had dramatic results with the products. So why? I mean, I've got people in my organisation, and they know who they are, who probably wouldn't still be here without, well, I'd say definitely wouldn't still be here without the Manatech products. And why has that happened? Why does it work? It's because they have been poisoned and the things in their food haven't been providing the nutrition to keep their bodies healthy. So I think it's really important we understand these things. Anyway, as Don talked about, so many pollutants and contaminants are out there now, and a lot of them are intentional. Roundup, glyphosate, these sorts of pesticides are being used indiscriminately now. Even in Australia, I remember there was a long time, we resisted. GMO crops are a fact of life in Australia now. Don talked about that with corn in America, the big cases over there, but we had one in Australia, I think it was about 10 years ago now, in Western Australia, where an organic farmer had a property next to another farmer who decided to grow GMO crops. And the GMO blew over into the organic crops, and there ended up being a court case because the GMO destroyed the organic farmer's organic license. And so the organic farm was no longer organic, but the GMO farmer was actually suing the organic farmer for stealing his GMO, the technology of the GMO, because it got into that. So he actually stole it. And you know what? In that court case in Western Australia, the GMO guy won. The organic farmer was out of business. So it's very insidious because GMO is now very prevalent in Australia and New Zealand, all over the world. It's in the water, it's in the air, it's in our food if we're not really careful to make sure there's no GMO ingredients in our food. And with GMO, of course, that gets into us, genetic modification. Crops have been genetically modified to resist this and resist that and to grow bigger or grow faster or do all these sorts of things. And those who've listened to me, for many years will have heard me talk about this, how my dad did these studies because he was an organic farmer, growing things with synthetic chemicals right next to an organic crop with mineral fertilizers. The chemicals grew much bigger. The organic fertilizers, mineral fertilizers only grew about half the size. But when he let the sheep in, the sheep ate the organic stuff and didn't touch the chemical stuff, So it's a bit sad when sheep are smarter than us, as I've said many times. So being very aware of chemicals and toxins and how things are grown and produced means we have to, be so careful with what we buy. And and I love how, I'm just going to quote how Don said it. He said, we have to more than ever pay attention to our health, and so much more important what we don't eat as what we do. To me, that was a very, very key statement. We think a lot about eating well, but we still like our treats. We still like to have things that we know aren't good for us. And really, people don't need to know what's good and what's bad. I think we have an inherent knowledge, but it's certainly getting to the point where reading labels and being conscious of how things are growing and where they're growing is so important. So we have to really be more diligent with eating well and not eating, bad things. I mean, if possible, I feel buying organic is imperative. I've come to the point I don't trust the supermarkets, even those that have organic produce, and I do my very best to buy from farmers, from grass-fed meat to organic produce. I'm fortunate, I live in the country. Maybe it's a bit easier for me because I have access to actual farmers, which is great. And but if you have access to farmers markets, and Don talked about that, not necessarily organic because it's a farmers market, but ask the question. We have a very large market in the town I come to, but there's not one produce place in that whole market. It's one of the largest country markets. It is the largest country market in Queensland, where I live, but there's not one stall with fruit and vegetables, and there's lots of them that are organic. So I don't buy any food at the markets. I buy lots of plants, which I love, and seedlings to grow food as well. So getting back on track here. So I've already mentioned this, and Ron and Don did too. So-called health agencies are not protecting us. I know I'm repeating that, but it's important. You cannot trust your food anymore unless you know every step of its production. So this is something to be very aware of. We need to look for nutritional concentrates, which of course we all have access to, because the way food's grown now, the soil is depleted. Don, I'm quoting Don again, but I grew up on a farm, so this is also true. No animals are walked over, so we're not getting manure and natural fertilizers into the soil. And so there's no biological activity, because the whole essence of the nutrients that end up in our food depends on all the life in the soil. It's like another world of life, just like in the sea under the sea is a whole world of life. Well, in the soil, it is like that too, with worms and many, billions of bacteria and different organisms that are responsible for transporting the minerals. I'm just getting a terrible message coming up here, which is distracting. Okay, not to do with the call, I hasten to add, it was just an ad. So, with all this live bacteria in the soil, once chemicals and pesticides and chemical fertilizers are used, it kills off that life. Like us, any living being on earth, whether it's a worm or a cow or a human, are not designed to be healthy with chemicals going into their body. And what is a chemical? Well, it's anything synthetic, anything that's not naturally grown. I think Don actually defined that, anything that's recombinant, I think is the word, where it's been chemicalized. It's not a natural food product, and our body reacts against it. This is what causes immune system issues in our body when anything synthetic, even a Panadol, that's synthetic. Anything that goes into our body that's not natural food causes an immune response and causes stress on our body. So we're going to get into that a little more. And of course, yes, once the soil is depleted, what happens then? Things don't grow. So that's when the chemical fertilizers come on, which exacerbates the problem. And when plants are growing with chemical fertilizers, often they're more prone to pests because they're not as healthy. So then we have to have the pesticides. And I'm sure many of you, with your time in Manatech, those of you who've been involved for a long time, understand, it's outrageous. Broccoli, avocados, so many plants are sprayed up to 18 times in the growing process. I remember talking to bean farmers in New South Wales a few years ago. And they, every year when the beans are ready to be sprayed, they take a 2-week, the family takes a 2-week holiday. They leave their own farm. This is, and we just have thought this is okay, or we haven't known this goes on. So this is why I just feel Don's message is so important. The last 3 years has sort of hit us in the face a bit but this has been going on for a long time, that our food has been causing a lot of your sickness and disease. We meet people who've got so many things wrong with them sometimes, and why? It's a twofold problem. It's the toxins coming in, the poisons coming in, and the lack of nutrition in the body or in the food to be able to deal with it, with what's coming in. So it's a double-edged sword. Okay. So some of the no-nos, the very obvious things to avoid with eating that are no good for us, which have become commonplace, is seed oils. Any nutritional person you'll talk to will talk about seed oils. And this has become commonplace. If you're buying fish and chips, I can guarantee you I've had to give up fish and chips, which is very sad. They'd be cooked in probably canola oil. Canola oil is this massive market, and it is not good for us. All your seed oils are very high in omega-6, and omega-3 and omega-6 should be basically 1-to-1 in your body. And I know Dr. Nugent wrote a book many years ago, How to Survive on a Toxic Planet. That was interesting. That book's probably 15, 18 years old. So this has been a long-term issue we've been dealing with. But with omega-6 and omega-3, as I said, they should be on almost a par, 1-to-1. But he quoted that mostly we're getting up to 30-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3, because omega-6 is very high in all our grains, if we eat a high grain diet too, which of course is our bread and all our grains, high in omega-6. And grass-fed meat is higher in omega-3, so that's a good way to improve omega-3, and fish oils, of course. But again, not all fish oils, not all fish, I should say, are high in omega-3. So you need to know that as well. And I'll get into that a little more later. I'm getting off track there. So seed oils, avoiding seed oils, artificial sweeteners, another major thing that's become just such a part in our society, and people don't understand. A lot of people have started to realize that sugar's bad, and it still is. And, it's certainly something to give up if you possibly can, or at least minimize. But, it was easy to go to artificial sweeteners because people are so addicted to that sweet taste. And so much food has sugar added to it, McDonald's bread rolls, or not just them, so much bread. The whole bakery just about has sugar in their products. And so artificial sweeteners became very prevalent, and there's been massive studies on the dire effects of artificial sweeteners, if you want to look into that. So we're at a time really where I believe we need to be eating a more restricted diet. Don talked about that, how, he'd been very ill as a child. He actually died before he was 2, and grew up with a medical mother, a nurse, who had lots and lots of drugs and was a very sick most of his life. But he started to learn about nutrition in his 20s, but he admitted he didn't eat a great diet. He started to supplement and do things like that, but he didn't always eat a great diet. But he's working more on it now because, like me and like Sharon, Gary, a lot of you, we're realizing it's just more important that we protect our body from what's coming into it. That is the main thing. As he said, it's more about what you don't eat as well, avoiding the bad, because that puts so much more effort on your body to get rid of it. Okay, so I believe also the best thing we can do is to be eating, larger number of nutrients in whatever way you can, whether it's food you grow yourself, or the Manatech supplements. And, you know, I'm just so grateful to Manatech. You know, it's a 30-year-old global company, been in Australia since 1998. The glyconutrients have been patented in Australia since 1998. You know, it's really quite amazing. So we're not a new kid on the block, and the science hasn't been maintained. We've had numerous doctors over the years. Dr. Nugent's been there all the time, but we've had so many fabulous doctors who've trained us. Sharon and Gary and Diana, and a lot of you would remember over the years. So the quality, you know, the quality of their nutritional products. Many of you and myself have been to the facilities, the labs in Texas, and seen the quality. I remember when the antioxidant was produced, the AO. One of the antioxidants in our AO product is green tea, which is known as an antioxidant. A lot of people drink green tea, believing they're getting good antioxidant. But when they had the supplies of green tea come in the years that they were working on producing the antioxidant product, because we didn't have that product in my first few years, it's not been there all that time. The green tea shipment came in, and when they tested it, there were no antioxidants at all in the green tea. So Manatech contacted the company, and they said, "Oh, if we'd known you were going to test it, we would have sent you the good stuff." And when it arrived, the good stuff, it was freeze-dried and vacuum sealed. Because, of course, once it was exposed to the air in a very short time, and this is antioxidants, this is the whole key with antioxidants, they lose their viability very, very, very quickly. So this is what you've got, and this is why the AO is encapsulated, and it's important it stays encapsulated. If for any reason you're going to take it out of the capsule, you want to make sure it gets down in your throat very, very fast, because antioxidants lose their viability. And where we used to get antioxidants from in an ideal world with ideal food was vine-ripened fruits and vegetables, because they only pass into the fruits and vegetables in that last 24 hours of ripening. So nothing you're buying in supermarkets or fruit stalls or even markets is just vine-ripened. The only chance you can be eating vine-ripened and getting your antioxidants is if you're growing the food yourself. And what are antioxidants? They are what deal with free radicals and the oxidative process in our body, but I'll get into that too in a moment. So the glycans, of course, are our most famous product, and really what's, I think, makes Manatech significant, although I think the plus comes a pretty close second. You know, I love our hormone product too. But the glycans, or the glyconutrients, particularly, as Don said, the fucos and the mannose, which are two we don't get sufficiently in our food anymore, they are what help make those receptors on the outside of our cells to actually make the glycoproteins, those little trees that float on the outside of every single cell in your body, and pathogens. They're on pathogens and bacteria and all bad things that can end up in your body as well. And this is how your immune system identifies who's good and who's bad. So those glycans, or biological sugars, are essential because you have the trunk of the tree, which is a peptide, the branches and the leaves that are connected to the trunk that interlink, and all your cellular communication goes on, depends on having all those 8 sugars that we have in the ambrytose to be able to read the correct messages. This is the basic key for the correct messaging to go on. We need to have all 8 of the glycans in our diet. And even inside the cell, for the DNA, the RNA to be able to communicate the right information inside the cell, depends on these sugars inside the cell as well. And, you know, as we've learned with all the studies that have been done, basically in most people's diets, you're lucky if you're getting 2 of these glycans. So this is why, again, people's immune systems aren't able to deal with the onslaught, because their immune system's not recognizing who's good and bad. It's not necessarily killing off and eliminating the bad, but also it's not correctly repairing the good. The cells, the good cells that have been damaged by the pathogens need repair. They might need vitamin C or calcium or magnesium or zinc, any number of things your cells need. But how do the cells know to uptake it if you don't have all your proper cell receptors? And most people don't. Most people don't. So I'll just want to just go back to what Don said, make sure I haven't missed anything here. Yeah, so and that's a very major thing. When your body's deficient in the glycans, they can't identify the pathogens, So it's not just identifying, what your body needs and the uptake of nutrition. It's identifying pathogens that need to be removed from the body. And, there's a lot of things our body does to protect us. If we've got too many toxins in our body will store them in fat cells, which is, not a good thing. I've had an issue with that from the past. I haven't always eaten perfectly either, and toxins get stored in your fat cells. And so very often, if you start to lose weight and you've got excess fat, you can have quite a severe detox process go on because of the toxins coming out of the fat cells as you're releasing them. And I've had that happen. So that's personal experience. But another thing that Don mentioned too, and what we're seeing massive, massive amounts of now is autoimmunity. And autoimmunity his quote was, your immune system is not intelligently functioning. So with an autoimmune condition, your immune system is still trying to do what it does, which is identify who's good and who's bad and destroy the bad and provide what's necessary to repair the good cells. But if it hasn't got all these glycans and it's not communicating properly, what happens in an autoimmune condition is it comes along to good cells, asks, are you part of me? And gets the wrong answer because it doesn't have all the receptors formed on the immune system or the lungs in the case of asthma, for instance. And so it identifies good cells as bad and starts to attack. It's trying to do the right thing. That's what Don was saying. It's not intelligently functioning because it's not recognizing correctly that this is part of you that needs repair. It's getting the wrong message. It's like us, as we used to talk about years ago, taking all the vowels out of our words. You wouldn't be understanding anything I was saying if all the vowels were missing, or if I was speaking French. Maybe some of you speak French. I don't. But, this is the whole thing. This correct communication is such a key. And that's what makes the glycans so, so important. And of course, the other big thing is with autoimmune conditions, having this attacking going on. It could be your joints that are wearing out. It could be any number of things going on in your body. But if it's being attacked by your immune system or not intelligently functioning, as Don put it, you're going to create inflammation. And this is where chronic inflammation comes from, aches and pains from an immune system malfunctioning, not doing it properly. So the glycans become such a vital part to deal with so many things. And we're making something like 50 million different new cells every second. So we're a massive production, and we don't tend to think of this. We think, well, this is me, this is who I've always been, and this is who I am. I've just got bigger or whatever, growing up. But we're turning over all the time, making new cells. So if we've got damaged cells and we're building new ones, we're building more damaged cells. It is a breeding program. Our bone cells are probably the longest living cells, anything from 7 to 11 years, but you've got other cells that only live 24 hours, your red blood cells for 4 months. So it takes time. And this is another aspect of us helping people with their health and understanding with our own health, that because people are so programmed now to take medication, which has a quick effect. If you have a bad headache, take 2 Panadol or 2 Nurofen and the headache is gone, hopefully in 15 minutes, or maybe it's less than that. I'm not really sure, but it's quite quick. But with this, we're looking at creating a new range of cells, a stronger immune system. So it takes time. So that's a major thing we need to help educate people with, which is why the following up with people is so important, so they understand the amounts they need. And if people are very toxic, highly poisoned, which a lot of people are, of course, which is shown by things going wrong with their body, they could have a very strong cleansing process or detoxification process, which Don talked about when they start on our products. So this is another reason to understand we need to start gradually, particularly with the glycans, particularly if people have got food allergies or digestive problems. You need to start very gradually, less than a maintenance amount, but I'll get into that in a minute too. So, yes, so we need nutrients to not get sick. People are malnourished. We need to understand that we're literally malnourished. I mean, with M5M, we've talked about this for many years, and this has been said for many years now. Children aren't dying as much from starvation in the world, where we support with M5M, but they're malnourished because they're not getting the nutrients. A lot of the food agencies that support so-called starving children in the world, it's all very rice-based and, carbohydrate-based, and they're not getting all the nutrients. So they're dying from malnutrition. Well, unfortunately, so are we. People in our culture are dying for a lack of nutrients, and we have the answer. We have the answer. So learning about this, about food, what's good, what's bad, and what the Manatech products can do to assist people, and even down to amounts, which I'm getting to, is a really key issue in going forward, whether you're doing this just to help people with health or whether you're building a business to help many, many more people. So another thing to remember if people are having a bit of a detox or a cleansing situation is the water. And it still horrifies me that I speak to so many new clients and they don't realise that the tap water is a bad idea. That we've had chlorine in our water for many, many years, and the chlorine is in the water, in the tap water, to kill off any dangerous bacteria. So, part of this program we've been subjected to, that they're trying to protect us and look after us from dirty water. But the trouble is, it kills all bacteria, chlorine. So it kills the good bacteria in your body, including your probiotics and good bacteria that set up your immune system. 70% of your immune system is set up in your intestines by the good bacteria. Thank you that we have GI Pro Balance back so that we can do that. But chlorine and drinking tap water is, just something people need to stop. A lot of people still believe fluoride is a good thing and it makes healthy, strong teeth. Well, I just encourage you to do some research. Fluoride was used in concentration camps and has been for many, many years to dumb people down. Take my word for it or go and do your own research, but you don't want fluoride. So if you're looking at getting a water treatment system, you do need to make sure it not only removes chlorine, but removes fluoride as well. And if you really can't afford one as far as chlorine is concerned, even putting your water out in the sun for a period of time, the chlorine will evaporate out of it, but I can't guarantee it will the fluoride. So helping people to understand water and changing that while they're doing their cleansing process and ongoing for their health is vitally important. We need to be keeping clean on the inside. We shower on the outside. And on that subject, even if you're living in a city, unfortunately, and showering in chlorinated water, you're absorbing a lot, especially if you have a hot shower. You can, in an average shower, you can absorb as much as 8 glasses of chlorinated water in the steam. So it's a good time going into winter. You can start having cold showers. No, just joking. But, just be aware of that. If you haven't got a filter system for your house, try and have cooler showers and have shorter showers because you can absorb chlorine that way too. Okay, so we're going to move on to the products at last. And as Don mentioned, you may need more. You may need more to get the same results yourself, and also for your clients. Now, obviously, because I have to be compliant, which I've probably already not been, I can't tell you exact amounts or suggestions, but I just want to give you an idea, because our products have, on every product we buy, roughly they're designed, all our products roughly are designed to last a month, taking at what they call a maintenance amount. And what does a maintenance amount mean? Well, basically, and I'm quoting Dr. Nugent and many of the doctors who trained me, this is not me making this up. A maintenance amount basically means what's missing from the food and what you need for if you're a young, healthy person. So what's missing from the food has got worse. What's added to the food has got worse. I think young, healthy people are quite rare these days. So in my opinion, a maintenance amount is a minimal amount. But having said that, I've seen people get great results from taking minimal amounts. But they may find after a period of time, and this can happen, you start off at a minimal amount, even less than maintenance, which, as I've mentioned, may be very important to do. People are very toxic and poisoned and needing to clean their bodies out. And they can feel great results because they've got rid of some toxins and their cells are improving. But after a period of time, very often they need more to continue the work, particularly with the glycans, or with all the products basically. But with the glycans, they may need more, depending how toxic the body is. So just be aware that the maintenance amount on all our products is just a guideline. But our products are not synthetic, they're natural food products. And once you understand what each product does, you can help guide people when they may need more in certain situations. Okay, so what are those certain situations? Well, obviously immune system function with the glycans is key. Autoimmune conditions, serious disease conditions obviously are going to benefit from increasing the products. And this is where guiding people and making the suggestion can really help and guide them as in what to take. Another very effective thing I found with the glycans, if people simply can't afford to take as much as they need, is to take it lesser amounts more often. So let's say the maintenance amount of ambrotose on the label is 2 teaspoons a day. I will suggest to people to have half a teaspoon 4 times a day instead of a teaspoon twice a day. They're just catching more cells on the turnover, so that can really improve results. Okay, so I'll move on from the ambrotose to the plus. The plus and the omega I categorise as our hormone food. We make our hormones on a daily basis or a nightly basis with phytosterols, cholesterol, and fatty acids, or omega-3 particularly. So here's another reason to be conscious of not having seed oils. So what oils are good? Because seed oils have high omega-6, muck up your omega-3, which also has a hormonal effect on the body. So the good oils are coconut oil, olive oil, butter, ghee. I think that's it. Coconut oil is probably one of the better ones to cook in. Olive oil's better raw, I believe. So it's good. You can have it on salads and vegetables and things like that. But to cook, coconut oil has a much better heat tolerance, as does ghee. Ghee is great to cook in as well. And yeah, so they're the best things to use and not the seed oils. So plus, yes, plus is our hormone food, which is phytosterols or plant hormones, not hormones. You need to make that very clear for people. If you mention the word hormones, some people think, oh, I don't want to be taking hormones. Plus is not a hormone, it is a plant hormone. So it's what our body uses to actually make our hormones, increase our DHEA levels, We can even increase our progesterone levels post-menopause by increasing our DHEA levels with Plus, because the body has a backup system and can make missing hormones or diminished hormones like progesterone from DHEA. So Plus is an incredibly important product, and it's a very feelable product. I think that's one of the great things in guiding you with what people need. It's a very feelable product. The maintenance amount on the Plus bottle is 3 a day. And for many people, that may be enough. But when we consider that we have 87 hormones that we need to keep making every day, every night, and balancing, and we take into consideration that we use our hormones for so many functions, from growing our hair to our nails to our moods, our happiness, whether we're and when we're under stress, we tax our hormones dramatically, and we live in a very stressful world. Does anyone out there not have any stress? I haven't met anyone. I'm certainly not one of them. I work very hard at staying calm, but I do that with Plus and Omega. I think I'm allowed to say this, that I take 12 Plus a day. I found that to be an ideal amount. As I've got older, I found my hair was falling out more, and if I take 12 Plus, I don't lose my hair the same, just a couple of strands when I wash my hair. So that's just me, and that's not necessarily the amount for people, but I've had people take quite large amounts of Plus. If they have hot flushes and have great results, they may only need to do it for a period of time to get the levels up. Because once we go into menopause, women, I'm talking about, obviously, we don't produce progesterone in our live egg follicles anymore. And when we have no progesterone, we don't make new bone cells either. And this causes lots of fluctuations in our body having low progesterone. It's a great cause of depression and sadness, having low progesterone. It's your major cause of PMS in younger women. But you need progesterone to make new bone cells too. So it's a major factor in the thinning of the bones and so-called osteoporosis. So this is one of the amazing things about the Plus, that you can build your hormone levels and allow for stress times where you burn up a lot of adrenaline or cortisol, and you need to rebalance your hormones. So there's times that you may take more of the Plus and more of the Omega. I know I have one friend in my organisation who's one of the first people I introduced 21 years ago, who, if she's on the call, will know who I mean. And she was in council and, you know, had to do a lot of speaking, and she would always take extra Plus before speaking because she felt calm. It helped, you know, just calm her before making a speech too. So Plus is an amazing product. It would take too long if I went on more about that. But let's not forget the omega-3 is part of your hormone production as well. My recommendation to people is usually to keep omega-3 about 2 behind Plus. So it's something you can just do gradually with people. Suggest they may go up from 3 up to 4 or whatever if they have particular hormonal issues or a lot of stress in their life, and you can follow the omega about 2 behind. And I find both of them make a significant difference. I've had a lot of reports, you know, with the omega going up with the Plus, you know, has great results. People have noticed. I think I'll stop at that. That's probably enough on that. I'm looking at the time. The antioxidant I've already talked about. Oh, Sharon, did you want to say something? I can't hear you, Sharon. You're muted.
Sorry. I'm just wondering, there's a couple questions about the oil. So
Sure.
the difference between flax, what is seed? So flax seed would be seed oil
Flaxseed
that
oil.
you're referring
Okay.
to. Questions
Okay.
about, avocado, coconut oil.
Oh, I'm sorry, avocado is good too. Yeah, and coconut oil is good too. The whole flaxseed thing's interesting because, of course, a lot of people these days are vegetarians. Flaxseed oil is not the usable form of omega-3. What is in Amanotex omega-3 oil is high EPA and DHA, which you have in fish oils. In flaxseed oil, it's AHA. It's different. And to be utilised, it needs to be EPA and DHA. They're the important ways our body use it. So your body can change flaxseed oil from AHA into EP, anyway, into the two that we need and DHA, but it's quite a laborious process. So it does work, but you need an awful lot of flaxseed oil, and you need to be also aware that flaxseed becomes rancid very, very quickly. So I know there's a supplement called something SA, which has sunflower, flaxen. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. I just can't remember the name of it, where it's already been ground up, which seems like a great way to do it, but it's not a good plan, because once you break the flaxseed, it does become rancid quite quickly. So if you particularly won't LSA, thank you very much, Pam. So if you are strongly against taking fish oil for your own personal beliefs, you're best buying the grains. And one thing you can do is in a coffee grinder. I've done that in the past. I'm not a vegetarian, but I have done that in the past. So you can grind it up, but you need to take an awful lot to be getting your levels of omega-3. Grass-fed meat, of course, gives you omega-3 too, but if you're a vegetarian, you're not doing that. So yes. No, rice bran oil, I don't believe is good. No, I don't. But you can do some more research on that yourself. To me, coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, and again, as Don made the point, with things like avocado oil or any oil, make sure it's cold pressed, at least cold pressed and not heat pressed, because that makes it much, much worse. Yes. Okay, so I hope that's enough on the oil, but omega, and one thing I haven't said about omega-3, apart from it being a part of your hormone production, of course, is that it's a natural anti-inflammatory. Omega-3 is a natural anti-inflammatory, so it actually helps prevent inflammation in the body. So that's another cause of inflammation, is having high omega-6 in grains and seed oils and things like that, and low omega-3. So your body becomes inflamed very easily. So omega-3 helps, it'll, oh no, I better not say that. Okay, and also our omega-3 has vitamin D3 added. You need fatty acids to absorb vitamin D, which is why, in the past we used to sunbake with olive oil, remember that? Well, I wasn't very successful at that, being a redhead, but a lot of people used to sunbake with olive oil, which was a great idea, because the fatty acids on your skin helped your body actually create vitamin D from being in the sun. But again, with the way our propaganda has gone, slip, slop, slap and all that, we've had many years of scaring us out of the sun, which I've got a mosquito here, which I don't believe in doing. I spend a lot of time in the sun, and I'm a redhead. Yes, in the past I had many cases of sunburn, which isn't a good idea. But as long as you have a strong immune system, I don't believe the sun is a problem. But you need vitamin D. Vitamin D for bone density, for good immune system function. It's a major part, and many other functions. And I am speaking to so many people these days, and I would say 90% of people, new people that I speak to, are already on vitamin D supplementation, because they've been to the doctors and had blood tests and they're deficient. And this is because people aren't in the sun. They're not, making vitamin D themselves. So this is really, really important to be. Oh, and the other major thing I haven't mentioned, of course, about the omega as well, is that it's molecularly distilled, which the Mannatech omega-3 is molecularly distilled, which means that it's purified and that you're guaranteed there's no mercury, no heavy metals, and no dioxins. And I actually advise people not to buy omega-3. You're better off taking none, in my opinion, if it's not molecularly distilled. I think it's very dangerous to be getting, those, just more effort for your body. Mercury's, apparently, from all the research I've done, virtually impossible to get out of the body. And heavy metals are a hard job. It's possible, but a hard job. And dioxins, of course, are a very bad toxin. So, Mannatech, there's only, as far as I know, and there's only 3 companies in the world who purify their omega-3, but we're one of them, and our price is very good and better than 2 other brands that I know of. So I hope that's everything about that. But again, with lots of inflammation, you can go up on the omega-3. And the other big thing to understand about omega-3, and I could go on a lot about this, is it helps regulate your blood. The medical world keeps teaching people that omega-3 is a blood thinner. I disagree. It's a blood regulator. Vast difference. It keeps your blood at a good level. And if your blood's at a good level, isn't that what we want? I think you can all think about that, why that's a good thing. So moving on, AO I've talked about, and AO is such an incredibly important product because of the antioxidants, because the stress we're under, oops, we're running out of time. The stress we're under creates free radicals or oxidative stress or like rust in our body. So the AO has got 5 different antioxidants in it. I don't know if I can remember them all. Phytol O, which are phytonutrients, which can go right inside the cell and pull free radicals out that are attacking your DNA. It's got green tea, good green tea. It's got resveratrol from red grape skins. It's got vitamin C, and it's got a complete vitamin E. So they're your 5 antioxidants in the AO. And what they do is what's the word I'm trying to think of? Disempower will do. They stop the free radicals being able to attack your cells. They're your defense mechanism, antioxidants, basically. And the biggest thing I can suggest about this in amounts is understanding that when you're under stress, and I believe a lot of us are living in a low-level chronic stress environment in the world. Things are very uncertain. The more you know, the harder it is. You know, knowledge isn't always good with what's going on in the world. But so if we're under any stress, and this is for the people who exercise a lot, which my children do more than me, but I still do, even exercise creates stress and free radicals in the body. So understanding if you're not eating vine-ripened fruits and vegetables straight out of your garden, basically, that are organically grown in really good soil that you've created, you're not getting enough antioxidants. If you have a drink of alcohol occasionally, that's not giving you antioxidants. You're getting things in your food that create stress in your body and toxins. So this free radical damage, it's the basis of the precursor to most damage and disease in your body is free radical damage, cells being damaged. So the antioxidants become imperative, and you don't need a lot of antioxidants in your blood at any one time. But if you've got a lot of stress or you've got stress going on, you may need to take more of the antioxidants than just the 2 recommended a day. You never need to take more than 1 an hour because you just don't need more than those levels in your blood. But you may need, in certain situations, to take 1 every hour, particularly if you're flying in an aeroplane. You've got recycled air, you've got electromagnetic radiation, you've got lots of unhealthy people around you, recycled air, all sorts of things. And I recommend 4 AO a day on a domestic flight minimum and 6 on an international flight. But again, only taking 1 at a time over a period of time. If people smoke, obviously they need more. I have it on very good authority that if you can remember to take antioxidants before going to bed after drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, you won't have a hangover. I've had a few verify that and prove that in very scientific experiments. Not me, I hasten to add. So the AO is just so important, and you need to keep up your AO quite often, and remember and be aware of your stress. It's a very good way if you're feeling anxious. Some people have anxiety attacks or panic attacks. Just have an AO. It's quite amazing what it will do. Plus an AO in a time of extreme stress, or sport. Sport is another incredible product. If someone is really upset, You know, we think of sport as just something you take to give you stamina and energy before exercise and take it again after exercise to stop the buildup of lactic acid. But sport also is dramatic because it works in a very unusual way. It has, again, plant hormones different to the plus in the sport product, and it works within 15 minutes, the sport, and it chooses the hormonal pathway that your body needs. So if people are very upset, it's great for grief, sadness, just to help people cope with upset. I just can't recommend the sport enough. And it's not a product that moves a lot in Australia. I don't think we've talked about it enough, and we don't want to lose any more products. So I really encourage you all to utilise the sport maybe more. Catalyst, of course, with all your multivitamins and multiminerals. I'm running out of time, Sharon. I'm afraid I'm going to have to. But before I stop, I just have to quickly mention the Bounce Back. The Bounce Back to me is one of our most important products because it is basically a natural anti-inflammatory. Curcumin from turmeric, which is a well-known anti-inflammatory, but you're getting it in a very concentrated form. You can eat a lot of turmeric. I grow turmeric, but you have to eat a massive amount and it tastes horrible to get the benefits. So you've got it concentrated in the Bounce Back product as a natural anti-inflammatory. And what I mean by that is it breaks up inflammation. Omega-3 prevents inflammation, but the Bounce Back will actually go in and break it up. So, and because inflammation can be causing a lot of pain. And there's also bromelain in the Bounce Back, which is derived from pineapple, which helps, again, absorb and utilize the curcumin. I mean, our products are so scientifically created to be beneficial to us. We should be so grateful. And the Bounce Back is a very important product if people, I'll just say this, have had the jab. It's a very important product to help deal with that as well, especially with the curcumin, and the bromelain have been recommended by many nutritional doctors as a help. So I think I'll have to stop. Oh no, I was supposed to talk about the comp plan at the end. Very, very quickly, I hope it's all right if I keep talking. Sharon hasn't come back to stop me. Having said all these things, you know, I'm sure some of you may be thinking, well, this is all very well, Karen, but, you know, people can't always take more. They can't afford it. But we do have that capability. And I have been working on this very successfully recently with my business. People who used to be associates and who haven't renewed, or even customers who know they need more product, but they can't. And I'm discussing with them, we have this incredible deal at the moment that a customer can become an associate and enroll for $40, or an unrenewed associate that's just still sitting there as an associate but is really a PC can pay $35 to renew, and then they're entitled to earn an income. And how do they do that? They don't have to build to be a presidential director. We don't have to talk big business or complicated compensation plan. What I do is just explain to them, if you just have, well, we understand the loyalty program, and I really promote that in a big way, 20%, as long as they have consistent automatic orders, they get 20% loyalty after 3 months and then every month. So that's a wonderful program to help people afford the products. But if they enrolled as an associate, $40 if they're a new associate, $35 if they're a renewing associate, and they have two customers with at least a 50 PV order each, and that could be just one bottle of Bounce Back. One bottle of Bounce Back's 50. I think one bottle of Catalyst is 52 PV. So even people just buying one product, two customers buying one product, they will then be entitled to the Power Seller bonus. And what the Power Seller bonus is if the PV on the associate and the two customers is over 200 PV, those 3 orders combined, there must be 2 customers and yourself, your 3 orders combined, you earn 10% on the dollar value of those 3 orders combined. This is significant. You know, this could be, you know, 400 PV, you can be looking at, you know, $60 or $57 just on minimal orders, which is more than the renewal. And that's just the first month, and the renewals for a year. If the PV on those 3 orders is over 500 PV, you actually then earn 15% on the dollar value of all those orders combined. And just to take it to another level, because you may end up helping them get lots of customers, or they may be ordering a lot more product themselves now because they're, you know, earning some money. And if it goes over 1,000 PV, the power seller bonus pays 20%. I believe this is all we need to teach people about the compensation plan to start with. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on anyone's toes when I say that, because our business is about duplication. And if people can learn that first basic step and successfully do it, then all they need to do is help someone else do the same thing. And they start to build a downline and go on one step at a time. All we ever need is the next step, in my opinion. So I think I'd better stop because my time is up. And I do hope that's helpful. I was hoping to have questions, but we won't have time, unfortunately. Sharon?
Sorry, busy answering
It's all right.
questions.
I can't talk, everybody, and look at messages as well. I'm sorry. So
It's massive, Karen. There's lots of comments and gratitude and questions. And no, you
right.
covered most of the questions.
Oh, did I? Good.
Yeah, but they want more. They want you to come back and talk about combinations of products and.
Okay. All right. Well, probably
So
repeat it. I'm happy to do that. Happy
yeah,
to come back.
we'll organize that, you guys. Thanks for the
Yeah.
suggestions. It does
Yeah.
take a village. God bless you, Karen. Amazing, amazing education. This is such a foundational, and many people are grateful that it's a review for people who have partnered with Manatech for some time.
Yeah.
But also a foundational starting point for people to really validate. Like a lot of people are asking more questions now. And for those that are, that it can validate them, their concerns, and it back them up and taking new action. And if this is overwhelming for anybody that's watched this, just start one change. That's how I started. I started one change until it was a habit, and then I could implement more. Some people can do big changes all at once, and some situations force us to. I think many of us have been there or know someone who has. So just take it and run with it. And we're here. And Karen, God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you too, Sharon and Gary and Diana. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you.
Okay. See everybody in a fortnight. Happy Easter, everyone.
Yeah, happy Easter. Bye for now.